What's going on, everyone, and welcome back for another Out of the Park Baseball Montreal Expos expansion episode. So, we're at the free agency filings. We're going to review free agency. We're going to kind of plan out the team a little bit. And we're just going to take a look at awards. So, we can see Gold Gloves here. You got Barrios, Romo, Julian, Paris, Mayo. Ellie De La Cruz gets the Gold Glove at shortstop again. I believe that's his second straight. Yup, it is. Dominguez in left, Siri in center, and Kyle Tucker in right. No real new names. Dominguez is pretty new. He's kind of burst onto the scene this past couple of years. But other than that, a lot of established players. We're going to come on over to the NL. You got Framber Valdez, Jefferson Quero, Alejandro Mora popped over to first. That's a high-level first baseman. Doesn't have the power you'd want from your first baseman, though. Looks like he's been doing pretty well. Cleared 200 hits this past season, 56 doubles, 5 triples. Hell of a batter, just doesn't have the home run power. Nico Horner, Nolan Arenado, Lindor, Luis Matos on the Giants, Michael Harris here, and then Luis Lara, a young outfielder with some crazy fielding ability for the Brewers. Reliever of the year in unanimous fashion was Felix Bautista. 11-7 with 32 saves. Heck of a season. Yuki Matsui snags it for the NL, going 9-4 with only 3 saves. Looks like he was more of a setup role for the Mets. AL Silver Sluggers, you got Adley, Juan Soto. Feel free to pause, take a look at their stats. Jackson at second, Colson Montgomery at third, Gunnar Henderson at short, Wyatt Langford in left, J-Rod in center, Judge in right, and Samuel Basallo nails it at the DH spot. I can't believe that the Orioles have the best 2 catchers in the league, essentially. No Silver Sluggers for us. That's the first time since I think the first season maybe that we haven't had a Silver Slugger. Even then, we may have had one there. In the NL side, you got Francisco Alvarez, Freddie Freeman, Noelvi Marte, Vincent Serta, the rookie Cuban. Had a great season for Washington. C.J. Abrams, Lars Nootbaar with a resurgent year, Corbin Carroll, Jordan Walker, and Vlad Jr. Braden Montgomery takes home the AL Rookie of the Year. Huge snag for Braden, only by 2 points. So he had the most first-place votes, but only by 2 points. Beats out Travis Bazzana and Sergio Manga. Great for Braden Montgomery. Love to see our young outfielder getting Rookie of the Year, even if it must have been a pretty down year because he didn't perform, in my opinion, deserving a Rookie of the Year, but he does pick it up. Here's Bazzana. Bazzana's looking really good. Vincent Serta, unanimous in the NL, no shock there. Brendan Hyde picks up his 3rd Manager of the Year award. Good for Brandon Hyde of the Orioles. Carlos Mendoza picks it up in the NL. Jordan Montgomery wins the AL Cy Young, despite having fewer first-place votes than Blake Walston. So one thing I noticed, Blake Walston, this is the dude who led the AL in Cy Young votes. Look at the stats. Only 150 innings. Only 123 strikeouts. I mean, what on earth says this guy is a Cy Young winner? It's just that he got the wins and had a low ERA, but goodness gracious, if he won the Cy Young, I would have been unhappy. At least Montgomery topped 200 Ks. Montgomery almost topped, I believe, 200 innings, did 226 innings, 200 Ks. I mean, that is so much more deserving than Walston. Bobby Miller takes it in the NL, edging his teammate Yoshinobu Yamamoto. 17-8 with 215 Ks. Good for Bobby Miller. Wyatt Langford captures his first MVP award in unanimous fashion. Wyatt Langford was a star. First off, Triple Crown, 9.2 WAR, 211 hits. But second off, he's played 4 years so far. Look at the numbers. Almost 200 home runs, 30-plus WAR, 770-plus hits, 500-plus RBIs. Wyatt Langford is, at least 4 years into his career through age 25. Wyatt Langford is an all-timer. If he can carry this on for 10 years, we'll say 10 years, he'll have, in just 10 seasons, have over 1,500 hits, over 400 home runs, and over 1,000 RBIs. Oh, and he'll only be, 32. That's insane. wish he were on my team, but love to see Wyatt Langford turn into an absolute superstar. Jordan Walker snags it in the NL. So you can see right here, Dylan Cease, we put a QL on him, we put a qualifying offer out, he declined it, he's a free agent. We didn't want him to accept, we just wanted to have that compensation for when he signs somewhere else. International free agents, Sung Jin Kim is an interesting dude, 28 years old, good fielder, but poor arm. He's a ball in play merchant, not going to hit for power, not going to take walks. Jong Boom Bae, another interesting one, 29, same exact build, but this time as a middle infielder. I think he's got a better chance of being an MLB player than the previous guy, or at least a good MLB player. Ji Young Bae is a nobody. David Contreras is a nobody. Tanaka's a nobody. Prado's a nobody. Lavoie could be an MLB pitcher at times. Morales, I'm going to say is a nobody. He's already 29, so I don't think that potential is going to come into play. Wang is potentially he's going to be an MLB starter somewhere. He's going to be on someone's MLB team. And then Hideki Kodama is the last guy. He's going to be on a team. So, front office, salaries, we're just going to work through my plans for players. Seager's contract, it's going to become an albatross, but we're stuck with it for 4 more years. We're going to run him out there while he still can play. He's going to be a first baseman / DH for us. This is what he's looking like. So a lot like what Bryant looked like last year. Mackenzie Gore, Ellie, and Evan Carter, they are 3 of our core players. They're not going anywhere. Gore's our ace. De La Cruz is our stud. Carter is another stud, would be the best player on quite a few teams in here. We'll jump down to Charlie Condon just to keep it that same build. Those are our core 4, and they're not going anywhere. They are who we are building around. Chris Bryant, 1 more year. Chris Bryant, unfortunately, not going to be an everyday player for us anymore. He is cratering a fair little bit. He's really only useful against lefties now. He can come on in against righties, but we're not going to ask him to play every day for us. Ferguson's on a 1-year deal. We may look to deal him just because I don't think we can afford to re-sign him. You're going to see that's going to be a common theme with our relievers. We already did Condon Gill, exact same as Ferguson, great reliever, but they both want somewhere in that 8 to 10 million range for multiple years. I don't think we can do that, especially with these other contracts you see here kind of ticking up now. Blaze Alexander. Blaze Alexander's a tough one. He's a star for us. He's a great middle infielder. I don't think we can afford him with those other contracts. The bad news is he snuck a no-trade clause that I didn't notice into his 1-year deal to avoid arbitration. So probably next offseason when we avoid arbitration again, we're probably going to look to deal him and at least recoup some value, try to get some prospects, maybe some young MLB players just to help fill in. But it's going to be tough because he's a star. Soriano, same deal as Gill, same deal as Ferguson, great reliever, wants 8 to 10 million. We can't give them all. We might be able to give one player that, but I don't even think we can give one of them that. So we're going to probably look to just recycle relievers, trade for younger, trade for prospects, get rid of these guys. Hunter Brown and Harry Ford. Harry Ford's in the same boat as Blaze Alexander. We can keep one of them potentially, not both of them. And if I gun to my head, I had to choose, I'm going with catcher and Harry Ford. Hunter Brown, he's going to be on the team this year, hopefully. Probably not going to take him for a $4 million arbitration. Puck is our closer. Teal is going to be on the team. It's pretty cheap arbitration. It's a great defensive catcher, a leader. And if we bring back Harry Ford, he could move to third. Teal could move to catcher. Could be something like what we did last year, but do it on a more consistent basis. Kumar Rocker's our dude. We're going to roll with him. Kyle Lewis, I've gone in-depth on him numerous times. You guys know the deal. He's just a fan favorite of mine, and he's a leader. Leiter is an interesting case. Great pitcher, great stats. Not entirely sure he fits our long-term vision, though, especially because he's just, for whatever reason, has not been able to really put it together for us. So we'll address Leiter as we get closer to the season, and potentially even at like the trade deadline next year. Crawford we brought back for 2 years. He's just a platoon infielder. Similar deal to Kyle Lewis, a guy that I have nostalgia for, that I feel very fondly of. So we're going to allow him to kind of play around with us. Brenton Doyle, defensive star. I think his value might be running out for us if we get a better team and we start making the playoffs more. But for the moment, $1.3 million is cheap enough that we are going to keep him around. And then you know the deal with these guys. Abel and Askew are kind of the 4A guys. Bremner's hopefully going to be able to be an MLB contributor for us. Montgomery's the reigning Rookie of the Year, so he's going to man the outfield for us still. Nishio's an interesting one. He could be a platoon guy for us. He could even kind of fill in that DH against lefties for us. Or we could try to look to trade him and maybe use him as bait with some of those relievers, maybe with a Hunter Green type player. Hunter Green's a tough one too. We kind of skipped over him, but his contract balloons next year, so we might look to move him. And then Emmett Sheehan, Amboris Tavares. He's a player that we traded for. Who'd we move for him? Moved Ryland Thomas and Daniel Palencia for him. A young middle infielder, very little service time, hits for some decent power and gap power, plays good defense. I figured it's a great value snag for two guys that really probably weren't going to be contributors for us. So, without further ado, let's pop on into free agency. We're going to take a look. We're going to go batters first, then pitchers. Just kind of plan out. We only have $26 million. We already have an offer out for Nick Lodolo. It was a minor league deal with a major league option. That's a great pitcher to potentially get for just 1.8, 1.6 million. I mean, he could fill in as a starter if need be, but otherwise he's just going to be a high-level reliever, so happy with that. So looking at batters, we don't have a ton of money to spend. We don't have a huge need. Our only real need is at that first base/DH spot, or third base/DH spot more aptly. Someone essentially to replace Chris Bryant. So we're going to not really look at guys that want like 10 plus million. I know I just said that. Luis Garcia looks really well. Post-concussion syndrome has me super worried about. So we can look Ketel Marte, not really what we're looking for. Luis Matos, not really what we're looking for. We're looking with a little bit of pop here. If Arenado's demands come down, he could be an option. Nick Castellanos is someone who's caught my eye simply because if you look against lefties, he's still a super high-level batter with some great power against lefties. He could man first base. He could man the DH spot. Bobby Dahlbeck is, I think, a little too risky of a snag there. Up come down Ian Happ is someone who potentially could be that role for us. Play against lefties and against righties. Teoscar Hernandez, no, not really worth it anymore. Austin Hayes, no. Jonathan India against lefties could come in a snag and be a high-level defensive infielder. We got Brandon Lowe. Brandon Lowe is going to be pretty good against righties. Not what we're looking for. Ryan McMahon was with us before against righties. He's super valuable and a great defender, so he could be someone potentially for the right price. Christopher Morel here. Christopher Morel brings some big power against lefties. For only $2 million, Christopher Morel at 28 years old brings great versatility and great power against lefties and a serviceable bat against righties. So Christopher Morel is a guy to watch. Mountcastle, similar deal, a little older, but really good against lefties. Tyler Nevin, is he someone? No. Josh Naylor. Josh Naylor could potentially. Josh Naylor for only 2.6 against righties. He is a great contact hitter. Doesn't have the power or defensive versatility that we want, though. Just going to go through a couple more potential options. Trevor Story, not an option. We're not going to bring in Trevor Story. But, boy, is that a sad career. Goes to Boston after some MVP caliber seasons in Colorado and just falls apart. Jorge Soler brings the pop. Going to do against lefties mostly, but nothing better than Morel. So Christopher Morel would obviously be an option above him. Soso Uehara was never actually picked up last year. Not going to be picked up by us either. Christian Walker, Lamont Wade, Verdugo. Masataka Yoshida is an interesting one simply because against righties, he's still a very good batter. And then the last one, Benintendi, just a dude that I really like personally. I remember some fond memories from the older out-of-the-park games. Really good against righties. Completely useless against lefties. And I lied saying he's the last one simply because look at Javi Baez. Javi Baez lost the defensive ability. That is what kept him on the field. That is what kept him valuable. He was a 162 hitter with a 174 OBP last year for Detroit. That's terrible. So that's batters. Right now, Christopher Morel and Ryan Mountcastle are kind of top of mind. Pitchers, we could use a fifth starter, or we could really use just like a solid reliever, which Nick Lodolo honestly might fill that role for us. Same deal. We're not really going to be clearing $10 million. Glasnow, if he lowers his demands, we will go after Tyler Glasnow. That's a fantastic pitcher to snag. And even I might consider clearing $10 million by just a little bit for him. Colby Allard, not worth it, especially because we have brought him in year one already, and it didn't really work out super well. Let's see a couple other options here. Edward Cabrera is an option. Dylan Cease, hopefully, we're not going to bring him back. Hopefully he does get signed somewhere. Aaron Savale, steady Eddie type pitcher. Luis Grayez, no. Sonny Gray, potentially Sonny Gray. The worry with Sonny Gray, and he hasn't done it yet, is simply that he's going to crater at some point, and we don't want it to be while he's on our team. Jordan Hicks is totally an option. Jordan Hicks brings some great stuff. Shota Imanaga. Shota Imanaga is an option. Bryce Jarvis, no. Dre Jameson, no. Craig Kimbrell. Okay, Craig Kimbrell still brings some good stuff. Stamina is actually 35, which is a lot higher than I was expecting. Kodama, who we went over, he's a potential pick. Michael King is totally an option. Michael King's a very good pitcher. We looked at Lodolo already. Matt Manning, Germán Marquez, no. Brandon McKay. Brandon McKay, I think we had him earlier, right? Yeah, we had him in 2024 for year one. Didn't really turn out too well. He could be an option to bring back. I would love to bring Casey Mize back, but he wants way too much money. I would love it, though, because he was outstanding for us. Adrian Morajan, another superstar of past games. Brandon Pfaadt. That could be the pick at $1.8 million only. Sean Reed Foley, no, he's hurt. Jojo Romero brings some great stuff. That could be it. Wants a little bit more than some of these other guys. Brady Singer's an option. I know we're just kind of popping down looking at anyone who's a potential option. Drew Thorpe. Drew Thorpe's a really good pitcher. Vince Velasquez. Vince Velasquez could be a sleeper option at 35 years old. A lot of options. We're probably not going to be super active early in free agency because so many of these guys are cheap, and we just kind of want to save money. There's no real superstars that I'm looking at that scream, you need to get him right now. So just a lot of potential options. Ryan Yarbrough. It's got a Casey Mize build to him. Yeah, you guys get the idea. We're not looking for a killer. We're looking for like one batter, one pitcher. I don't think we really have anyone in minors that is like begging to come up. Giolito could fill that role for us as a pitcher. Chris Sale still bopping around down in the minors for us. Yoel Tejada's worked his way up. He's got the torn UCL, unfortunately. Cameron Hill's a pretty good pitcher. Micah Bell, of course. Micah Bell might be an option for us. For batters, kind of the same deal. Yukichi Takamatsu could be an option. But I don't love what he brings to us as far as contact and the strikeouts. Jeremy Rodriguez is going to start pushing for some MLB time. He's going to be a potential platoon infielder. Shea Langoliers is an option. Shea Langoliers pretty good against lefties. Cedric Mullins could, of course, fill in the outfield. Max Clark is really starting to pop off a little bit. I think it's tough. I want to call him up because I don't want him to, just twiddle his fingers down in AAA. But I don't want to risk stunting his growth. So we might wait one more year, at least use Max Clark as a mid-season call-up, essentially. Other than that, Kyle Johnson's a solid pitcher for us. But that's really it for us. There's only one more thing I want to cover, and that's simply Riley Green on the trade block. So I know we were talking about not wanting to spend a lot of money. He needs to be re-signed, but he's on the trade block. This is a really good batter, really good outfielder. The contact's there. He's got power. He's got eye. He's got gap power. He's got speed. He's got defense. I mean, this is a fringe 5-tool player who, for some reason, in Detroit so far has not been able to put it together. I think when you give him the support around him of Ellie De La Cruz, Harry Ford, Charlie Condon, Corey Seager, Blaze Alexander, I think Riley Green will easily become a 4 to 5 WAR player. It's just going to be a matter of I don't know if we can afford him. That's a lot of money. We'd probably need to include Hunter Green in the deal, and it's risky because he hasn't put it together yet. So I mean, while I think he would be able to put it together in Montreal, who's to say he will? So we're going to check back in preseason. We're going to recap everything that happened this offseason. Maybe Riley Green will be part of the Expos. Maybe he won't. We'll find out. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see everyone next time.